Triggered. I see a lot of people use this word, and I'm not exactly sure if they know what it means. Because really, the psychological definition of being triggered means that an event or a situation causes someone to do something or causes someone to feel something, normally something that is distressful. Normally because it reminds them of trauma. So when I see a lot of people use the word triggered, it really doesn't fit the situation at all, especially when people have used it towards me, because you're listening to me right now on this audio, and I'm responding to a word that I've seen used. I'm not responding because I'm triggered. I'm responding because I think that it is a teachable moment. I am a teacher, and I have been a teacher for over 30 years. So there are a lot of things that I respond to that don't impact me emotionally at all. I don't feel angry or sad or hurt or disappointed or frustrated or whatever emotion you want to put. There's no emotional reaction at all. There's no distress, and there's absolutely no trauma associated with me making a response. I am literally just responding. And a lot of what I see is people responding. And those people who are responding are being called triggered. And I did a post not too long ago about dysphomism, which is the opposite of a euphemism. It's when someone uses a negative word, when they could use a different word. And they use that negative word because they're attempting to manipulate the situation. It's the example that I used on the meme that I created was when a guy said, "Oh my gosh, all these women on this post are complaining." And I said, no, they're not complaining. They are relating a situation that happened to them. Me saying, hey, I went to work today and this happened isn't necessarily a complaint. It could be just a report. It could be just a statement. Doesn't have to be a complaint. So just because something isn't positive doesn't make it a complaint. You know, I think sometimes people don't understand that sometimes people say things to show their personal response or their personal experience with something. I can tell you that I was divorced, and I'm not complaining about it. I'm giving you a fact, and I'm giving you that fact because in the particular situation that we were in, the topic was divorce. And so me saying, hey, yeah, I'm divorced, it's not a complaint. I'm not complaining about the golly. I'm glad as hell I'm divorced. Not a complaint at all. It's a fact. So that's the same thing with people saying, oh, this person is triggered. No, sometimes the person is just responding. They are responding to something that they feel is inaccurate or something that they want to show their experience about or something that they want to have a conversation about. And there may not be a single traumatic memory or situation that they have with this thing. In fact, they may have never experienced it, but they may know something about it because of research, because of study, because of observation, because of a lot of other things. So it doesn't have to be that they're triggered. So I think it's good to stop assuming, to actually read people's comments or listen to people with an open mind and not have a hair trigger, not have this hair jerk reaction that everything is negative. because some things aren't negative. Some things are just facts. Some things are just neutral. And assuming that everything is negative to me is counterproductive. It's not helpful. Let's just sometimes have conversations about facts, about experiences, about situations without assuming that people are triggered or they're complaining or a myriad of other things that are negative. Let's just talk. And I think that as social media has proliferated, I think that that's becoming more and more difficult to do, because I remember growing up, and I was a kid. I was in middle school. I was in high school. And we would go on these long road trips to see family. And my dad would be the driver. And I would be the designated person to keep him awake. And we would talk about TV, music, politics, economics, the news, what was going on in school, my goals for the future, any and everything under the sun. And we were able to discuss controversial topics without getting triggered. Just discuss them. Nobody had to be, quote, right. Nobody had to be, quote, wrong. We could just talk about them. And I grew up being around people who could have discussions, my relatives, my friends, my coworkers, guys that I dated. None of them had problems with having discussions about issues. And no one thought that a certain person was complaining or that people were triggered. To me, it's normal to have discussions like this. But as I've been on social media and I've tried to have some of these discussions with people, it seems like there are many people who don't have that experience, and they assume that if you have an opinion about something, it's because you're triggered by that topic. I have opinions about a lot of things that don't trigger me, that I'm not traumatized by. In fact, I have extremely few triggers, because I think that the more healed you are, the fewer triggers you have, because you've dealt with those things that tend to bring up your trauma. You have already dealt with them. You have already done your shadow work. So there's literally not much, if anything, that can trigger you, because you've already dealt with it. It's kind of like if somebody were to say to me as an insult, well, you're divorced. Yeah, I'm divorced. I tell anybody that that's not going to bother me that you said that. Is that supposed to bother me? So if you have accepted the truth about yourself, the truth about your history, the truth about who you are, where you come from, what you've gone through, what is there to be triggered about? You accept it. It is what it is. There's nothing to be ashamed of or angry about or disappointed about or hurt about. It is what it is. I'm sitting in a room with four walls. It's the same as I'm divorced. This is nothing to be triggered about. It's a fact. So I think that the more healed people are, like I said, the less they get triggered. And I think that the more mature people are, the easier it is for them to just have discussions without assuming that everybody is complaining or triggered. So I hope that we get to that point one day. May you walk in Synergy.